Texting may be fast and it may be easy, but if you're using it like this, it could also be ruining your credibility. Texting is definitely a popular mode of communication, both personally and professionally. But just because something is popular doesn't make it the right thing to do. In this video, I'll be breaking down 3 reasons that texting may not be good for your business and, quite frankly, could be ruining your credibility. First and foremost, fast and easy could very well translate into unprofessional and impersonal. The purpose of communication is sometimes to navigate very delicate conversations or situations or challenges. So therefore, using a text message to communicate the things that need to be communicated could be seen as very unprofessional, and it will kill deals, quite frankly. And it says a lot about who you are if you're the one doing the texting. Even if there is an arranged agreement that texting is faster for the person, or texting is the easiest way to get up with them because they don't check their emails often, all of that is understandable. But when it is sensitive information, or if it is a deal-making situation, it's important for you to either pick up the phone and have a conversation or to send an email scheduling something. Texting could lead to a lot of misunderstanding and confusion, and it could really ruin your credibility as the person doing it. Quite honestly, it could appear cowardice. If you have a big ask, let's say, and instead of you actually picking up the phone or sending a proper professional email to sort of lead up to the ask or to lay the groundwork for the ask, the person you're asking, or maybe the company, the decision maker, could see that as you not being confident in what it is you're asking, or maybe even come across as, like I said, a little cowardice. Maybe you are, afraid of the situation, which could make it look like maybe it's not a good deal to embark on, or it's not a good decision for that person to make if you are seeming a little bit mousy or squeamish about even asking the question. It could appear as if maybe there's something wrong, right? Like, maybe I shouldn't be asking in the first place, so I'm going to just kind of slide it in a text and kind of gauge the temperature of the situation. When we're professional, or if we are even in a personal setting, be confident enough in your ask. Be comfortable enough in your reason for asking or communicating in the first place to give the person you're communicating with the respect enough to actually do it in a professional manner or the most acceptable manner for the situation or for the industry. Even if, like I said before, it's been previously agreed that texting for simple things, for simple questions would be, a text would be preferred. When it comes to more serious conversations, texting is not the way to go, and it could be ruining your credibility. The next reason for texting being an issue is that when it comes to communicating effectively, you could be threatening your ability to do so. I mean, think about it. When it comes to a text, can you really understand the tone in which someone is using? What if their mode of conversation or communication is very excited and energetic and they like to use all caps? Well, the person that's reading that may see all caps as threatening or aggressive. Maybe you say something that, if said in a conversation over the phone, you would sound, one way, but if you write it in a text, it comes across a little bit sketchy or like you have an attitude. You know what I'm talking about. You have had those text messages where you're not quite sure, like, the position the person is taking with the text message. Maybe you're wondering, well, are they upset with me? Why would they ask me that? Why would they send this text? Why would they say it that way? This could be problematic in your ability to communicate your message effectively. So in this instance, text message could be ruining your credibility. Not only is it bad for whatever situation, because whatever it is you're trying to communicate is being heard wrong or seen wrong, but it could kill a deal. It could make them think maybe you are not the person that they thought they were. Texting is good in some instances, but please pick up the phone and have a conversation. Send an email to schedule a conversation. Send an email to ask a question in a way that you can sit and think about how you want to say it, and it's not a text message on the fly. Again, texting is good in some instances, and it is acceptable in most personal situations. But I am a firm believer that in professional situations, unless otherwise agreed, texting is probably not the best idea, especially if you are building credibility with the people you are communicating with. Professionalism is very, very important, especially in the entrepreneur space, and having a system and a process for communication is very important and will go a long way in building the credibility of your brand. It also is a way to communicate, building the culture of your company. If you are thinking about building a team, you want to make sure that you have a solid system and process for communication, and people know what's acceptable and what is not. Speaking of effectiveness and working with teams and building out the culture of your business, when you're talking about communicating effectively, you have to consider things like your tone. In a text message, it is hard to account for the tone that someone is using. When it comes to different words that are being used, maybe the interpretation of those words is, misunderstood, or it's not being interpreted the way you mean them. That could cause a lot of tension, a lot of frustration. You don't want that to be the case. If you're using text messages, it's hard to decipher what it is you meant or how you are interpreting it as you read it. You have things like language barriers. You have cultural barriers. All kinds of things can get lost in translation when you are texting versus using other modes of communication. The other thing that I think is really common is misinterpreting. People misinterpret what you mean in a text message. And if they did, what happens if they don't respond and give you the opportunity to clarify? You could miss out on a myriad of opportunities because someone misinterpreted what you meant in a text, versus had you picked up the phone, you would have been able to hear the silent pause from their misunderstanding. You will have the opportunity to kind of overcome that challenge if you were on the phone with them. So again, texting can be okay in certain instances, but I just, from the old school, believe that picking up the phone, having a conversation is much better, whether in person or again over the phone. You might find that, when it comes to being able to communicate effectively, maybe the person that you are communicating with prefers a conversation, actual talking. I know if you're dealing with me, I would much prefer to pick up the phone and call you than to write a long text message. It's easier for me to write an email at my desk when I'm in work mode and really be able to think about how I want to word it, and all of the things that could support what I'm saying. It's much easier to do in that instance. But texting, I am the person, yes, it's me. I'm the person that wants to have a conversation. I want to communicate with you in real time. But I think when you can see my face and you can see that I'm being lighthearted and you can see that I am, just really relatable, I think it's easier for me to get my points across. It's easier for me. That's why I love doing video. I love talking to you guys because it seems so much easier than writing it in a blog post where you really can't get my sentiment. You can't feel what I'm feeling. You can't pick up what I'm putting down. You see what I'm saying? So preferred mode of communication is something that you should also consider when it comes to being able to communicate your message effectively. Now, before I get into my third point, my final point, I really hope that you have enjoyed this video so far, and maybe you have not decided to stop texting people, but you will at least think a little bit harder about when you text and what you text, and maybe consider making sure that the mode of communication that you use is going to be effective in whatever outcome you are looking to achieve from that communication in the first place. And if that is the case, if you have found anything remotely interesting, whether it's my pretty purple, because that's my favorite color, or what I have said, please consider subscribing to my channel. I am on a mission to grow my channel to 1,000 subscribers and to monetize my page. I can do that only if you subscribe and commit to hitting that notification bell and watching my videos when they come out. that is a huge plus for me, and I would appreciate you so much. I've noticed that a lot of you watching my videos are not subscribed, so if you would go ahead and do that, that would be so helpful to me. I really appreciate it. Okay, so now let's get into this final reason that texting could be bad for your business, and quite honestly, it could be ruining your credibility. And that is, documentation is both a blessing and a curse. Now, when I was talking about this video with a girlfriend, I said she was the catalyst for this point. She is the queen of documenting all forms of communication. And I believe that this can be a blessing and a curse. On blessing side, if you have documentation, if you remember to screenshot your text, then you will have backup for any type of conflict you might have. You'll have proof of the conversation. It could be helpful in a myriad of ways. So yes, it could be a blessing in that regard, that you have the documentation that things happen, that you have proof that certain situations are going down the way you say they are. You have backup to your claim. On the opposite side of that coin, however, documentation could be a curse, because if you are the one who is doing the communicating and you're not thinking about the things that you're saying or how you're saying them, or if you're coming across different than the way you wanted to come across, the person on the other end of that text message could be the one doing the screenshotting. They could catch you in a moment of weakness and use it against you. I know that this is a negative thought and we don't want to think negatively of people, but we do have to be realistic and mindful of this digital age where people are capturing information and using it for their gain. So again, this final point, texting could be ruining your credibility because someone could capture something that you said in jest or maybe misinterpret what you wrote, and they could screenshot that and use it in a way that is opposite of the way you meant it, and then therefore hindering your ability to develop opportunities and succeed in whatever it is you are going to do. So this final point, I think, is one of my biggest reasons for thinking that texting is not necessarily great for your business and could actually be ruining your credibility, because texting is more of a casual thing. So in our casual behaviors, we are less guarded. We don't mind our actions very well. We may say things thinking it's funny or in jest, but now remember, this is now documented for the remainder of time. You may be able to erase it from your device, but whoever you sent it to, you have no control over their screenshot or they're forwarding it to someone else. So I would be mindful, if I were you, in when I choose to text in my business, for sure. In my career, absolutely. And actually personally as well. So if you're watching this video and your main mode of communication, because I do know that in marketing we have text messaging, we can text our promotions, we text proximity texting and promotions and things of that nature. I understand all of those things. But when it comes to vital communication, effective communication with customers, with employees, with colleagues, coworkers, I suggest that you think twice about using text messaging as your main form of communication, especially for important things. You want to make sure that you have a way to document those. Emailing is best. When it comes to sensitive information, I believe picking up the phone and having a conversation or meeting someone in person is valuable. So I want you to think about that. And as you are thinking about it, I want you to consider what type of content you would like to hear next year, because we are rolling out. I mean, this year is almost over. So it's time to start thinking about next year. And I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. Number one, what are your thoughts on texting? Are you a predominantly texting type of communicator, or do you prefer in-person conversations or phone conversations and email? Tell me down below, because I want to know. I want to know what you're doing and how successful you have been with it, and your thoughts on the 3 reasons that I'm giving you today that texting could be causing you problems in your business and ruining your credibility. I want to hear your thoughts on that. But I also want to know the type of information and content you would like to see coming from this channel moving forward. And I'm going to ask again, would you please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, giving this video a thumbs up by hitting that like button, clicking the notification bell once you have subscribed, and committing to watching the videos, or at least letting them play and listen while you're doing something else, washing dishes, cleaning up, cooking, doing the yard, whatever it is. Commit to actually watching the videos, because watch hours matter, and that's what I'm lacking right now. So if you could help me with that, I would greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, I think that does it. I hope that you will reconsider your texting, or at least consider it, and make sure it's the appropriate mode of communication for whatever it is you have to say before you actually do it. Think twice. And again, join me back here again next week for another episode or another video, and share this with someone that you think might like it. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video today. And yeah, see you back here next week. Bye, guys.